The last time I was here, we were talking about the ocean, over and past. And today we're going to be in the woods. Quite a different setting, different purpose. One of the problems we meet in learning what Emanuel Swedenborg has to teach us is the difficulty of fitting the pieces of his theology together. To be sure, there is an overarching and interlocking structure to what he is telling us, but it isn't easily seen because his mastery of the theological details that he's woven into the writings is so thorough as to complicate them. Think of a dense forest. If you do manage to break through it into a good-sized clearing, you are finally able to get a better perspective on all those trees. Standing back, you find in their abundance of continuity that is majestically powerful, a pleasure to contemplate, a joy to identify with. To return among the trees isn't unlike, again, being close to those detailed explanations which Swedenborg has given us by way of theological instruction. In short, we can benefit from some open space where we can pause and reflect on the impact of the intricate details. In the introduction to his book, Splicing Loose Ends, Carl von Essen tells us with disarming simplicity, in considering the vitality of our cosmos, I feel that every part of nature is alive. He's right on. And where better to reinforce that feeling than in some open glade in a forest, where the abundance of life fills every human glance. Swedenborg teaches us that all life is from God, and that God is life. The way all forms of life, including us, come by their shares of it, is by means of a perpetual and steady influx of his love and wisdom. It is meant for a host of recipients, as different as all the living things, all the flora, all the fauna, that we can see examples of just about wherever we look, if our surroundings are not too signified. Here are the results of the chief, all-embracing process that connects the living God with his myriad expressions of life, which include us. His holy outpouring is revealed in both the spiritual and the natural world, according to the capacity to receive it that is given to the recipient. None of these receivers of God-given life has a soul or mind capable of acquiring all of his divine love and wisdom. Each species or genus is able to accept only the share that is suited to its nature. Its portion of his influx is indeed used to inform a mind, however primitive or advanced it may be, with whatever it needs to control the body to which it is united, so that it is able to function in its environment in its own way. God does not present his love and wisdom at full strength to any living form. The reason is simply that such an influx would be too hot and too bright for it to bear. Instead, God provides his love and wisdom as tempered offspring, consisting of 4 pairs of offshoots, which are in the form of mutually supporting complementarities. These are will and understanding, good and truth, charity and faith, and affection and knowledge. One or more of these pairs is received in varying strength by all living forms, however advanced or primitive. They comprise an influx that ultimately controls its material recipients in a way that is tailored to support the uses that are owing to them, which we can usually observe. The overall effect of these uses has been to support gradual improvement of both primitive and advanced life forms as they experience successive mutations from their primordial existence. This has been done little by little under God's direction by means of the influx He provides. So living forms are able to approach God ever closer on an evolutionary continuum in which every living being of any kind has a unique standing. Think of this continuum as offering limitless space with enough places for everything to happen. It contains what we can think of as a family of variables overseen by God, each of which has a unique function. In this family, we find love, wisdom, divine influx, life, soul, mind, brain, body, the natural world, the spiritual world, evolution, and we mustn't forget uses. We also have loves and wisdoms for a pair of related offshoots. This compatibility among the family's variables and the fact that they interact, except for God, can present a problem. It happens when someone misbehaves. The whole structure and distorts the harmony of the whole structure owing to its interwoven nature. It's kind of like a collapsing row of dominoes in which even small failings produce huge repercussions. The family of variables puts within our reach an answer to some persistent questions, such as, what constitutes life? Whether God is present with us, whether He backs away and leaves us to ourselves, whether He even exists. We can understand that every life form, primitive or advanced, has its characteristic means with which to receive its influx, its share of life. We can see how evolution works. Further, we can comprehend how the imponderable variety of happenings taking place among all souls actually has an understandable structure within which it occurs. We can see all this from the vantage offered in that clearing, that glade full of life, protected by an encircling forest of love and wisdom, from its main overarching structure down to its operational minutiae, its tiniest uses. Why did I focus on this summary today? It was prompted by a simple epiphany. I had it actually twice, last spring. I was struck by the simplicity of a statement I had never heard before. Then a short while later, it was repeated when I least expected it, as if to make sure I got it right the first time. It is easily as powerful a message as I have ever had at any time from anywhere. And it takes just 5 simple words. It is what prompted me today to talk about the things that it is closest to and to describe their availability and their meaning that we can contemplate for both pleasure and assurance. Life is a permanent condition. That's it. It feels good to believe, and it's good to think about. It may be extraordinary, But life is like that. Life is a permanent condition. If we were to make a list of things that bring comfort to the psyche, we certainly would include love of nature. That's instinctive, we say, but it's more than that. It's more like the intimate kind of love that we reserve for relatives and other dear ones. I happen to like my woods and clearings symbolism for its structure, but the impulse to cherish nature is so strong, you really don't need anything but to be alive and feel its force. It is full of life, and life is a permanent condition. Amen.